everybody. I'm Steve Peterson.
I'm Jack Hinkle.
Welcome back to Chops Podcast, where we talk about best teaching practices, like knowing best teaching practices, knowing your students, and knowing your content. Welcome back. It is October 28th.
It's almost Halloween.
Halloween.
Kids get a trick or treat tonight after rehearsal. A trunk or treat.
Trunk or treat. Nobody goes trick or treating anymore.
They just go trunk or treating.
Oh, they do in my neighborhood. I got to be on duty 5:30 to 7:30 on Thursday.
Ooh.
I don't shut down the house.
What are you giving out?
My wife went to Aldi's, got the big bag of candies.
You're not the pencil guy?
Nope.
Okay, that's good.
Or the peanuts or the
apples. There you go.
Yeah,
I'm giving out V-Bucks at mine.
Wait, what?
V-Bucks? That's like Fortnite money.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you giving out candy?
No, I was there. Yeah, I'm going to have candy that night.
They probably come to your neighborhood, don't
Oh,
they?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This will be the first time there has not been like a band thing on Halloween.
Okay.
I think for me.
Okay.
It's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, so we're going to talk about today, aren't you interesting? That's the quote, right?
You think I'm interesting? Really?
Aren't you interesting?
Oh, that's one of those things like how you change the inflection.
Jack, aren't you interesting?
Aren't you interesting?
Aren't you interesting?
Yeah, it's a different sentence each time. What's aren't you interesting? What does that mean?
Well, I would like to vote. Oh, next week is.
Yeah, we're going to vote.
Did
next
you vote
week.
yet?
I did
We
vote.
already talked about this.
Did you vote?
No. My wife did today. She was there for a while, like an hour.
Yeah.
At
It's
the health department.
It was long. I was in line for probably 20 minutes. That's real, man. Which is that's real.
Okay, so next week we'll do that's right.
That
We're going to
will
do
be
the political show.
interesting.
Okay. So,
That-
aren't you interesting?
Yeah.
Also known things that make you go, right?
Yes.
One of the frequent listeners of this is the supplier of aren't you interesting? When people do things or say things and you kind of just want to cock your head like my dog Oliver and go, what? Like, what are you doing?
Or sometimes you want to like slap them upside the head.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
just,
you just
like
go,
angry,
aren't you interested?
irritated, frustrated, fascinated. Yeah. Aren't you interesting?
Frustrated, fascinated, frustrated. Okay, so story time.
I love stories.
I think, yeah. Okay, so this story we know well. Happened to a friend of ours. But the teacher was in a large band class, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a number of students talking at different times. But there was a certain senior leader that was upperclassman leader that was in the group that was talking, right?
This is true.
And that person kind of had free reign to talk, right?
Yeah.
That's the way the story
Yes.
was told to
Yes.
me. Okay.
Yes.
Then the person B, a younger student, freshman, was talking during the same rehearsal, and the director on the podium said, Terry, did you understand what I said? Did you hear what I said? And he said, what? And the director said, well, you were talking, right? He said something like, you're talking.
And then Terry said, well,
I figured since Bobby was talking, it would be okay for me to talk. And the whole room went, oh,
boy.
no. Okay, so basically saying to a young kid, you need to stop talking. I thought it was okay. If Bobby was talking, it would be okay if I did. Then there was a sense of escalation
yes.
that the teacher said, don't go there. And the young boy in response said, oh, I went there.
Dun, dun, dun.
Duh. What do you
Yeah.
do with
the student
that?
teachers right now are like, okay, right, what is he
Yeah.
going to say? Write it down, write it down, write it down.
You've got a kid saying, oh, I went there.
Oh, man. I'm telling you, like the teacher skits that we used to do in college to like help you prepare for that stuff, that'd be a great one. Like, what do you do? Like a role play thing. How would you handle that? But from from what I recall about this story is that it actually kind of got shut down right away.
Yeah.
There wasn't much more after the, I went there. It just kind of went, beep.
Yes.
So I don't know if that was luck or skill or
Okay.
whatever, but it did stop, right?
Right.
So this concept of aren't you interesting is a personal de-escalation tool, right?
PDT.
A PDT.
Right.
And that's probably its biggest purpose. For you as a teacher in a classroom when a kid is making you do the Oliver Peterson head tilt,
Yeah.
right? So that is the story. That is luscious, and Brian Golden is looking through the window. Hey, there. Yeah. There's Ty too. Okay. So that's the story.
Okay.
Where'd you want to go with that? Where
Well,
else?
So when we get into the third season of Chops, we need to start having like panels of teachers. We need to have like a student teacher, a first-year teacher, a 5-year-old or 5-year teacher, and then us. Because, well, then also maybe you should have a retired teacher because they'd be like,
yeah.
in my day, we just smack them up the head, say, shut it down. You know, like, what? You said what? You know, and like, that's probably where the difference is. Right? No, we're not saying that. I went there. I'm going to go there with this tank over your head. Now shut it down. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, the student teacher's like, okay, we're going to try that again.
Okay, how did you feel?
We're going to work on these restorative practices and make
Where
sure
we make the teacher feel like
Let's-
a chump. Okay.
let's just make sure we're meeting each other where we're at. Okay,
Yeah,
so
the
you're going to go.
Only time I'm going to meet you where I'm at is when I'm jousting you on the field. Let's go.
We're going to walk down to the principal's office together. They're going to give you a bag of chips and send you back, and everything's going to be better.
See, I'm laughing with Jack right now, not at Jack, because that was actually funny. Okay, that's true. That's true. Yeah, the 75-year-old retired teacher would be like, oh, no. Oh, heck no. I'm not going there.
Man, dude, did I miss the good days of teaching? Did I miss those days?
I think so.
Dang. Ugh,
Yeah.
that's tough.
Yeah, I don't want. Yeah, okay, restorative practice. Okay, that's a whole different thing. I don't understand restorative practices, so I can't talk about it.
That's weird because you talk about a lot of things you don't understand. Woo! Nice. Okay.
Okay.
So that's so true though, because the I would say current thought, like the current quote best practice about students when they say stuff that makes you want to tilt your head and make you go, aren't you interesting? Like the best thing right now is to like de-escalate and walk it back with the students.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're sorry.
What do you think of? What do you think?
The stair steps story. I don't know if we could share that one, but a version of that one.
Oh gosh, like.
But that's like, I mean, I think of that as a perfect example of aren't you interesting, because it's like kind of harmless. But at the same time, you're like, we do need to walk this one back and try it again.
Okay. Let me try to talk about that one.
Because I think that one's gold. I think that one's gold.
Well, but it worked. It didn't have to work. But basically, I was at the intersection of a hallway where two students converged like from right angles, from two different angles. And they couldn't see me. And student A goes, hey, do you want to go to church with me? And it was a totally authentic, nice invitation. And student B threw out some expletives like get out of my face kind of thing, but bad, like R-rated. And then they both saw me at the same time. And it was like, shut the boop, boop, boop. And I just happened to walk into it. I was like, okay. And I literally was like this. Were you there?
I was not there.
Okay.
I just know the story
Okay,
so well.
I was there, and I go, okay, and I literally in this tone, after this boy dropped an F-bomb, unprovoked, about going to church, of all things, and I go, whoop, okay, boys, walk it back. And so I had boy A, the boy that asked the question, go back down the stairs, and person B that threw the F-bomb. I had him back up, and I said, okay, roll again, take 2. And they did the same thing. And he goes, hey, you want to go to church with me? He's like, no, thanks, I'm good. Excellent. Okay, go on.
That is so good, dude. That's so good because obviously it lets them practice the skill of using proper language during the school day. But second thing, it's like, is that a big deal in the scheme of their life that kid dropped an F-bomb in that hallway?
No.
Probably not. And you corrected the situation without going cray-cray on him. I will say my first young teacher, student teacher, I would have been up in their grill for dropping language. And I look back on that. I'm like, I don't know if that's the way to go. Also, when kids use foul language and you call them on it, what's the first thing they say every time?
My bad? No.
After that.
I'm sorry?
They go, oh, I didn't know you were there.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
That is the...
Yeah. I didn't know you
that
were
makes me
there.
say, aren't you interesting? Okay, if you drop an expletive in school, they're like, oh, well, I didn't know you were here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have said it. Wait, back it up. That's not the problem.
Right.
Don't say that stuff at school regardless. I wouldn't have said it if you were there. Well, that's good, but don't say it in general.
So I think they'll go back to that story of, do you want to go to church with me? That whole story. The reason I could use that, let's walk it back, was because I knew the students really well. And I knew the one that used the poor language was not aggressive.
Yes.
And that he would be like, okay.
Yes.
He never argued.
That was that student's thing.
That he never argued. He was just like, okay, whatever. All right, sure. He wasn't combative.
No.
So it was easy for him. But now if I had a more student that was into kind of type A personality and wanted to take over the situation, I can think of some students I've had that maybe wouldn't have gotten into that. So part of that was leading, I used the correct words, but also I had a little bit of history so I could kind of navigate that, right?
I got to, wait, where's your chops mug?
It's right above you.
Bruh. I just said bruh. I got you.
Bruh. Okay,
for the reels. Got to keep branding. Okay, I had a whole lot of Aren't You Interesting
today
on PSAT day. That's how I felt. Okay, so the PSAT is a lot of scripted speaking, right? You when you're setting the kids up for a test, you, the test proctor, are reading from a script. That's that's how it goes.
Yeah.
There's not really, you're not giving information that you're getting on the fly. It's just read this. That's what they need to know. I think I started reading the script, and it's very basic. Welcome to the PSAT. Today you will be taking the grades 8, 9, PSAT, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I'm like, welcome to the PSAT. This girl raises her hand and speaks at the same time and says, do we have to try?
And you said,
and I said,
aren't you interesting?
I said, welcome to the PSAT grades 8, 9. I was just like, wow. And it's stuff like that does make me really take a breath and go, mm-hmm. And then they're like, and I keep going, and that happened a few more times. Please put all food and drinks under your desk. We have to put all food and drinks under our desk. I'll say it again. Please put all food.
Yes.
Just wow, aren't you interesting?
Wow.
And it is fascinating that there is that was the student's reality. I don't know how to put it a different way, but that's what they're experiencing in that moment, is that they need to just come
okay.
out
So
with that.
that's interesting. Actually, trying to think about it from the student's perspective.
I know it can be frightening sometimes.
If they said, "Do we have to try?" Because really, what the student is thinking is not really. They're not expecting you to give a real thoughtful answer on that.
No.
It's just a way of her saying, This stings.
Yes, it's scratching an itch.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Okay. I think I must have taken this from you, but
that
just-
$20 I had in my wallet last
you
week.
wish it was 20. It was like 5.
Dang, dude.
But when students ask me that, and it does happen a lot in unstructured mandatory time,
Okay.
like a homeroom class.
Okay.
But sometimes students will ask questions that they're like trying to get out of stuff,
Yes.
you know? And it's one of those things that it doesn't matter, but there are rules about it. And so you just follow the rules as the teacher. For example, like a no movement day for homeroom, right? We have those sometimes, and sometimes they're only for like one grade has a like class meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and they do a no movement day for all 4 grades. It was like fine. Like I get it. As the teacher, I'm like, fine. And so a kid will say, can I go to this place? And you're like, no, there's no movement. And they're like, why? And then what I've started doing, and I must have gotten for you, is I will ask them like a slightly funny but sarcastic question back to them. Like, why, are you trying to go to Martin's and like buy donuts or something?
Yep.
And oftentimes, especially with the younger kids, they will go down that rabbit hole and like go with the joke, and then they never ask it again.
Then it gets diffused.
They get so distracted, and I'm like, I can't believe that worked. So if any of those kids are listening, they know my secret.
I think that's a good one. Glad I thought of it, or you said I did. I'm not sure. But another one would be, can I go to the library during this class? No, it's a passing. You can't move. It's no movement. Well, can I go? Did you hear what I said? I said that one a lot.
You do. You
Right.
use that a lot.
Did you hear what I said? Right. What did I say? It's no movement day.
So can I go? And you're like, no. Let's try it again.
You have a choice, but it's not going to go well. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, aren't you interesting?
So in again, it could be. Okay, maybe we need to go. Maybe we need to go to the hostile ones, because we've hung out in the not hostile that are pretty easily
Okay.
like diffused. Hostile moments where a kid made you go, aren't you interesting? Except you're like, am I going to die right now?
Yeah.
I know you had some, and I know you've talked about them.
You've had some too.
I would not.
You ripped that guy's AirPods out of his head.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Say my name. Say my name. Let him cook. Let him cook. Okay, sorry. My tummy hurts. Right?
My tummy hurt. Oh God, what do I do?
Okay.
Hostile moments.
Well, you had the one where you stepped into it when you were student teaching.
Yeah, but that was not like an aren't you interesting. That was like Mr. Hinkle the authoritarian. That clearly did not work out well.
Okay.
Okay. You know, if I could relive that moment, as painful as it was,
Yeah.
I would. I think I could redeem
What would you do?
21-year-old self. Oh,
The boy had the AirPods in
and was turning away from
and
me
he didn't
constantly.
pick up his chair.
Yeah.
What
Gosh,
would
even
you-
you remember this story.
What
Yeah,
would you
boy
do
needed a rack chair, wouldn't make eye contact with me, had earbuds in so he could feign like he couldn't hear me. I would stand at the door and I would take up a lot of space. I would take up like a lot of space and make sure like he couldn't get past me unless he like wanted to like body check me and get me down,
Yeah.
which this kid was clearly capable of. So I would take up a lot of space and hope that he would not body check me and choose to like talk to me. So then if that happened, I would motion for him to take out the AirPods. If he chose not to, we'd circle back to it the next day and try that conversation again. But if he chose to, then I'd say like, buddy, pick up your chair, and just be like a lot calmer about it. I would not have touched the kid, like tapped him on the shoulder like I did, because according to the administrators that day, that was a poor move. Even though I got like smacked down as a student teacher, and they were not like very sympathetic. And would have had a conversation with him then. If he wasn't ready to have a conversation that day, I'd circle back to it the next day. But it would have been a lot more calm, and I would have been kinder and more smiley. I would not have stuck my finger in his face like I was, I don't know, his mom.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm like cringing thinking about this, dude. I was a bad teacher. Ugh. Wasn't I interesting?
We're all bad teachers. Yeah.
That's what I would do. So, yeah, it would be more. Okay, and here's the other thing, too. Like, it's so hard in our job to depersonalize. When we have to work through those moments, we're on the clock. But even if a kid hates us, it's hard to feel like the kid doesn't hate you. You know, the kid hates
Right.
the teacher version of you.
Right.
And like working past the personal feelings that like kids will give you sometimes can be challenging. But that's another layer that doesn't get talked about a lot.
I think I had a student, my first year teacher, that said, "I hate your guts."
All right, you've talked about that.
He said he wanted to be drum major,
That's a good way to get to be.
and I said no, and he was like, I hate your stinking guts." That was kind of hostile, but I think I'm more apt to watch me get trolled by a kid in the next 24 hours, but I'm more apt to not let it go, but just kind of duck and have the wind go by me,
Yeah.
right? And just be like, and just talk to him later. I mean, we got plenty of practice with that when we had PCC, which is like prep for college and careers. We had freshmen, kids that we didn't really know, that we had them for a whole year.
Talk about unstructured.
And we had an unstructured time, and then
You have 84 minutes.
to do.
What do you guys do? Study hall.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did have some students in there that were rude, vulgar, threatening.
Hey, buddy, can you take your hood off?
Like all day, right? And I was like, oh. So, yeah, I didn't know how to go, aren't you interesting? Like, I didn't yell at the kid back, but I was just like, wow. you
And
can
there
do
is
that?
there is like a fine line too, because there are some certain code words, not really code words, but just expletives. There are certain phrases that once they leave the kid's mouth and you hear them out loud, like expletives or rude, mean, vulgar things, you as the teacher, you're like, I'm washing my hands of this. This is going to admin, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And that stuff, I don't want to say is easy because it's not, but your job is like done at that point, because certain kids can say certain words to you and you just make a phone call and they're out. They leave because that is like completely unacceptable. Yeah, you might have them back and you'll like need to work on them with that, but in the moment, it's like your job is to grab the phone and call the office.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It's the other ones that you have to make a choice that is not like cut and dry, that you think might get hostile. They may not. And like the way you phrase something right away could be good or bad. Those are hard. Those are hard.
Yes, where you have more impact.
Yes. And they might, and those, sometimes they happen in the classroom. Sometimes they happen in the hallway. Sometimes they happen, maybe if you're a director, they're happening at a rehearsal or on
Yeah.
a bus ride or,
Yeah.
you know, far away from school. It could be anything.
I think I've learned, or maybe I've been taught, that you don't argue with a student. Especially don't argue with a student in front of their peers. Because automatically an argument puts you into there's a winner and a loser.
Yes.
And so if you do that, especially to I guess I'm going to say a teenager, that'd probably go for anybody. But it's like if you put somebody in front of their peers and they're thinking they're going to win or lose, they'll go for it, right? So I think that's important to keep in mind, that you probably don't want to get into an argument with a student, especially in front of their peers. And if it's one-on-one and you're in some kind of conversation with them and nobody else is around, I guess that's different. But
probably still not a good idea.
I don't really argue with people that much.
What
Like-
is there to argue about?
I mean, just the, like in life,
Yeah.
I don't really argue with anybody.
Yeah, you do.
Shut up. Oh! I said shut up. Okay,
Roasted.
Sorry. Please refrain from talking to me at this time. So that's true. There's things to argue about, I guess, but I don't spend a lot of time arguing with people.
With kids, I mean, I remember I was taught give them a choice.
Yeah.
Like if you say to a kid, please, like if they're, let's say like they're habitually on their phone
yeah.
and you say, please put your phone away. And the kid says, no.
Oh, right.
Right. And then you're like, okay, checking my notes. When kid says no, what do I do? Flow chart.
Oh, no.
Did kid cuss? No.
Yeah.
Okay, go here.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
but kid said no. Okay, go here. So the choice would be like, okay, your choices are put the phone away, or I call the office and the assistant principal comes down here, takes you with, and takes your phone with you for the day, and you have a 2-hour lunch detention. What do you want? And then you just put it on them, and then their inaction or action is a choice, and then you go based on that, you know?
Right.
But I think in those moments, like, I don't come across that almost ever, like that kind of stuff. But anytime that kind of stuff happens, I usually get pretty quiet and calm.
Yes.
I think physically for myself, I need to do that. Even if I don't feel calm, but I need to do that just to
Yeah.
make sure I'm okay.
You want to give the kids an out.
And you want to give the kids an impression like you're not in control. Like you're not phasing me by your lack of compliance. I'm not. It's fine.
Yes. I'm not going to get triggered.
I'm
by
not
that.
triggered by you. I'm not going to let the emotional disposition of a 16-year-old dictate my day.
Right.
But that one, as long as you follow through with whatever you say, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry for them. But, we've had stuff like that. Like if, you have to remove a kid from a room. And if the kid says no, you just call him and you push him away.
Right.
What about, okay, I don't know if we talked about this one about much, but sometimes you come to a point where aren't you interesting?
Okay.
Your response is, if you ever do it to escalate.
Have I ever done it to
Well, I
escalate?
shouldn't say, have you ever escalated it? Because I'm not asking the question correctly. But, sometimes there are times when a response is called for that's very calm and mellow and just like, here's what we're doing.
Right.
Sometimes is there a time for a response that is more loud and more aggressive?
Mm. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, I did that. I did that last week in marching band.
Yes, you did. With the people you work with. Right?
Yeah.
Because they were... What were they doing?
You said, get out your binders
Oh.
and look at your binders. And kids are like standing there not looking at their binders. And I yelled.
Yeah, sir. Okay, you did. I like Jack's on the board for 50. Right?
I did. I do not get angry if kids make mistakes that involve performance. That's my job.
Really?
Let me rephrase that. Try it again, Jack. Try it again, buddy.
Walk it back.
I do not
Show
demonstrate
emotion.
my anger to my kids when they make performance mistakes. I do demonstrate anger on occasion
Yes.
if they fail to meet a expectation,
Threshold of effort.
a threshold of effort,
We call that a toe.
because
T-O-E.
it is
toe.
unacceptable for you to not do the things that are asked of you that is solely effort-based. Like, look at your binder. I did yell. I don't know if that was the appropriate response. I don't know. I'm sure I could have done it calmer, but I wanted them to feel some urgency and some frustration from their teacher, because sometimes I want my kids to know that I'm frustrated with them.
Yep. And you can't just say, I'm frustrated with you.
Students, I am frustrated with you.
I'm so
Please
frustrated.
be better.
I'm like a bitter glass of iced tea right now. The reason I don't yell at the kids, because I sound ridiculous when I yell.
That's true. You don't have a good yelling voice.
It splits.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You have gotten good at the disappointed dad thing, though, from the tower.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Today you were like, that rep was a waste of our time. Take it back.
They're like, I'm tired of dad.
You're like, you said to the kids today, you're like, I don't know what to say to help you.
Well, the reason that sounded so authentic is because that's how I thought. I was like really saying, can somebody please throw me a bone? Like, how can dad help? Like, because clearly I'm not getting through.
Oh. Okay, is there a time to show anger?
Well, yeah, you just said
Well, I'm not saying I'm right, though. I'm saying I just chose that.
anger. But that's not even anger. That's like frustration. I think of anger more like rage.
That's true. That's like Darth Sidious.
That's just like, you got to throw something out there.
Nah, I wasn't Darth Sidious, dude. I haven't been Darth Sidious yet. It might come.
Do you want to?
I don't know. Have you been Darth Sidious? Like ever in your... Yeah, well, I guess in your earlier days you may say you were.
Yeah. Because I thought I had to.
Join the dark side. Do it, Anakin. No,
Do it.
I don't... Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I want to be Darth Sidious. I don't want to be.
I didn't. My teachers didn't yell at me.
Really? Dang.
It was more the disappointed thing. Like, or the stern thing. Not yelling. My jazz band director did. God rest his soul.
Yeah, he seemed like a little more
He was
intense.
older, different generation. And he really just wanted to play jazz.
Smoked in the teacher's lounge kind of thing.
Yeah, he's like just wanted to do it. Like, great guy. Like, he would engage with the kids, like yelling, you know. But my other band directors didn't do that. They were more calm. They were more, I'm disappointed in you.
My band directors did not yell.
Did you ever want them to?
I don't think so. I had an orchestra director in college that he would get a little cray-cray.
Yeah.
But he was like so kind and like personable
Okay.
that he kind of, I don't want to say got away with it like he did something wrong, but when he yelled, I think he could own it because the other side was so strong, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the people in the orchestra loved him. And he was so, my orchestra director in college versus my band director were almost like complete opposites because he was so like intense and not dramatic in like an immature way, but like the way he conducted was like very dramatic and the way he spoke to the band was very dramatic. And the band director was like very calm, very like dry, but not in a bad way, just
Yeah.
like kind of dry and just like had a little bit of dad humor and like both good teachers, but like totally different sides of the spectrum. And you and I don't really yell,
No.
only to be heard.
And I don't have a voice that's going to be heard, so
That's why I use a microphone.
that's why I use a microphone.
Yeah. Aren't you interesting? Aren't you interesting? It does make you pause, too. That's the other good thing. Makes you think where you want to go.
When what?
When you say to yourself, aren't you interested?
Yes.
About a person. Do I go hug? Do I go nudge? Public, private, whatever.
Well, and then sometimes you want the student. I alluded to this just before we push record, that you want the student to figure it out so they could like read the room and like be a part of the process. And if they know, and like you want them to acknowledge the way they're acting is not really in line or in accordance with the group.
That could
And
be
you-
its own episode.
and you don't want to
Read
like
the room.
give them all the answers. You don't have time, or it's not appropriate to give them a lecture right there. But you kind of want to just like, you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. You just kind of want to, for the sake of the group, that it's okay. Right? You kind of want to know. You want to know. You want to know the temperature. You kind of want to know what's going on, and you want students to be able to figure that out.
Our kids are just too comfortable with us. It's not. You're just like, no self-awareness anymore. No, okay. That's it. That's true. You want them to figure it out. And you want them to do it on their own without having to be told.
Right.
That's it. That's it.
A lot of it, they can come up with their own conclusion themselves. And like, oh, yeah, I got this.
Mm-hmm. A
Right.
lot of it can.
Because you don't want to give the answers to everything. Well, it's like when you're in marching band, you don't want to keep on telling the student, like, you missed it again. You missed it again. You missed it again. Because that could lead to two things. Number one, total frustration and poor self-esteem. But you also want them to be engaged. Like, do they know they're not getting it? Like,
Right.
Are they doing it?
Yeah, because that's not good teaching if they're still making mistakes every time.
Right.
It's not it.
Figure it out.
That's it.
Okay. Whip.
So, listeners, aren't you interesting?
This is
Because
Halloween.
if you're listening and you haven't rated or reviewed or
That is
subscribed,
Weird.
aren't you interesting? Get on it.
Hey, you
guys.
know what I was thinking? We need to have a guest on soon.
Yeah, we should talk to the director of communications about reaching out to somebody.
Jack, I've just been so busy lately. Well, it's time to get another.
Let's host an electoral debate. Let's be the moderators for a Trump and Harris debate. But we all ask them like teacher questions.
What if we had Donald Trump and Kamala Harris in here?
That's what I'm saying.
That would be amazing.
That'd be amazing. Okay,
Our ratings.
candidates. A
Our-
student just came in late with their hood up and has not turned in any
and
assignments.
they're sitting on the floor.
And they're sitting on the floor. How do you approach them? You have 2 minutes. Go.
That would be amazing. Can you imagine our ratings
That'd be epic. Oh, man.
if we had our? And I would let people use whatever microphone they want. I mean, this is not like a super bougie thing, but it's like, you want to talk on this? Here you go. Right? That would imagine though if we had Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
And we don't have, we're not muting them. We don't have
No.
that button. This is like a cheaper setup.
I would give
let's let 'em
Donald
go.
Trump and Kamala Harris like one of my little glass beads here.
You'd
that I
say,
give-
you're a gem. You're a gem.
I start chucking in it. I'd give them, like a little spider or something like that. Make them laugh.
They could be right at this table. Think about that.
That would be amazing. What if our reels had a presidential debate on it? We can't get it though. It's 8 days away. We're not going to get those guys.
You never know. Maybe they get their schedules freed up around that time.
Come on, that would be hilarious.
That would be good. That'd be good. Just imagine them sitting like right here. Just
Right
like
here in Secret
Trump
Service.
and Kamala.
Secret.
They're just like
secret
through the window.
You guys okay? We're good.
Son of a
We're
bitch.
good. That would be
Oh,
really cool.
man.
People would be talking about that. They're like, yeah, those two punks that do chops, those guys that like think they're hilarious. Well, they had a presidential debate.
That was sweet.
Gosh, those guys are awesome.
One of them threw rocks at him, at the others. My gosh. Seriously, though, like and subscribe. Let's go. Trying to get this plane off the ground.
Yep. Next week we're going to talk about presidential election, horror movies, which could be the election,
Which could be the election.
and the days after.
And
But it could be. We could talk about spooky movies.
spooky movies.
What movie is your class most like?
What movie is your class most like? Oh,
The Notebook.
Twister 2.
The Exorcist.
The Purge.
No, mine's like the Blues Brothers. I'm gonna go high.
I teach jazz. Mine's the Blues
Mine's the
Brothers.
Blues Brothers.
Ah.
Okay.
High School Musical 3.
Little House on the Prairie. Okay, we gotta go eat. Okay, for Steve
Silence
Peterson.
of the Lambs. And Jack Hinkle.
We're out of here.
See ya.